And then we'll
Hello and welcome to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. I'm your host, Erin Loman-Jack, and today I'm excited to bring to you Meg Brunson. She is a former Facebook employee who left the corporate world to be more present mom to her 4 young daughters. An entrepreneur at her core, she's since launched a successful Facebook marketing agency and her own podcast. Plus, she's mentoring her children through their own entrepreneurial journeys. We have that in common, and I love that. She loves sharing her knowledge and experiences from the stage, within workshops, through podcast interviews, and so much more. She's the founder of EIEIO Marketing and host of the Familypreneur podcast. Welcome, Meg. I am so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your journey of where you were and how you got to doing this.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start. I had followed a pretty traditional career path, and it was my pregnancy with my 3rd child that started to rock the boat. So I got really sick, was hospitalized, near death a couple times, and it just shook me. You know, I lost my dad when I was young, and I realized I hadn't made the impact on my kids that I wanted to make. And I told my husband I was done working, and I quit my job. And it was abrupt, and it was not planned. And I jumped into entrepreneurship as a way to supplement our income. And then 2 years later, I actually went back to the corporate world. That's when I went to work at Facebook. I felt like I had this opportunity to work at some place that was super cool. Like when you think of like the all-time coolest places to work, it's probably like a tie between Facebook and Google. And so I jumped at it thinking I was over that trauma of facing death and I'd be okay. But quickly realized that I just loved the freedom and flexibility that came with being an entrepreneur and being able to be present for my kids. So it was a short-lived job. I was there for about a year. And that's when I left and really took it to the next level. I feel like I focused a lot on not only launching a business, but really trying to impact change, trying to increase visibility, and spread my message on a larger scale. And that's been my mission really for 2018 was visibility. That was my word. And my goal was to impact as many people as possible through as many avenues as possible.
That's awesome. So tell us more about now what you do with your agency.
So the agency is EIEIO, and I named it number one because my focus is family. So my ideal clients are all family first businesses. So they either serve families or they are parents. There's just a really strong family feel in all of my clients. So EIEIO is kind of that fun family song, but it's also an acronym for your Facebook philosophy. So every time you're on Facebook, remember EIEIO, and you should engage, interact, educate, influence, and optimize. If you're doing those things, you're going to knock it out of the park with social media. So it's kind of a cool play on words. And I work with people in 3 ways. I either run the ads for them. I have an ad agency where I manage ad spend. I have a mentorship program where I work one-on-one to help solopreneurs and small businesses figure out Facebook for themselves. And then I'm in the process of developing courses. So it's more hands-off, learn at your own pace with some access to me on the back end of things.
That's awesome. I mean, who doesn't need to know how to optimize their Facebook ads? I'm just saying, I've done them. I ran them. I'm always like, how come I didn't get something here? And how come I did here? And what's going on? And I just do not have the brain space to sit down and go, okay, let me really look at this and let me A/B test. Bleh, that sounds so terrible to me. I'm so not that girl.
Well, but there's a lot of misinformation out there too. So sometimes it's hard to know what to listen to. Who do you trust? You hear this from your friends. You hear that from the gurus. And there's so much information out there. And when I got hired at Facebook, I brought a lot of that confusion with me. You know, I had found success on my own, but working there was still so eye-opening. Like even the success I had found, I quickly learned how many things I was still doing wrong. So I love that. That's what I bring that's unique, is that insider knowledge.
Yeah.
I didn't learn it from, I do test, but I didn't learn it from just testing with my business, which
Right.
doesn't give you a full picture because every business is different. I worked with hundreds, if not thousands, but if not 1,000 plus businesses while I was at Facebook. So I've seen things from across all verticals, huge trends, like things that the average guru doesn't have access to.
Right. You probably know how those secret algorithms work, right?
Right? Top secret stuff.
I love it. It's so awesome. So if somebody is, let's just, hey, why don't you use me as a pretend client? If
Mhm.
somebody is a speaker, since most of my audience is speakers, and they want to get more visibility for speaking, for maybe speaking at events, what kind of things would you suggest them focusing on? Is it just doing Facebook Lives and getting them out there? But how do you get attraction to these people who host these events? Like, what would be a strategy if people were a speaker to actually do that on Facebook?
So I definitely believe in the power of Facebook Live, 110%.
Yes.
Facebook Lives are favored by the algorithms. So when you go live, as opposed to posting a pre-recorded video, you're going to get more reach, and it gives you more ability to gain traction, and not that I'm saying you're going to go viral, but more of that viral ability, right? And the other really cool thing is that one of the Facebook ad types is called video views. So that's actually better than boosting. Like, you don't want to just boost the Facebook Live. You
Yeah.
want to run it as a video view ad. The boost is trying to get you more engagement on the post, which sounds good. Likes, comments, shares, all that good stuff. But when you run the video view ad, you're actually running an ad to get more eyeballs watching your video, which at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want people watching it. You want people seeing your authority, like watching it through. So run it for video views. And right now, the average video views are coming in at like 1 to 3 cents per person. So even if you ran it for $1, that's 100. Realistically, you could get 100 people seeing that video for every dollar you put behind it. So
That's
even,
awesome.
a $5 a day budget, 500 people. Now, again, that's not a guarantee. It's not a promise, but it's an idea of where standards are right now. And it'll give you an idea of how many people you can reach with a relatively small budget. And then all of those people are retargetable. So this isn't quite getting into yet the event organizers, but from a sense of authority and just trying to reach your people. Now, a week down the road, let's just say you ran that ad for $5 a day for 5 days. You've now got about 2,500 people in this audience. Now you can serve them another ad that says, it probably wouldn't say this, but hey, you saw my video.
Right.
Now buy this, or now get on my list, or now do whatever I want you to do. And now you've got a warm audience who knows you, who's seen your authority, and is more likely to take the next step with you. Because it's like dating.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to just go in for the sale. You got to kind of warm them up first.
Yeah, I actually have a conversion matrix that talks about how long you're in front of people and what you could pitch. So like if you're in front of people for less than 30 minutes, like if you were doing a talk, here's as high as you can ask, because you haven't built enough know, like, and trust to ask for the high content value, right? So the higher packages are, you need at least 90 minutes in front of people to pitch in the 5 and 6 figures. Like, you don't get to do that by just, showing them a quick little video of you for 20 minutes. Like, there's a whole thing behind it. And it's the psychology of how long it takes for you to build that. And one of the things I teach is how to do that. How do you build that connection quickly with your vocal tonality, your nonverbal communication, and storytelling? Because really, truly, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes. And layering that with the video view stuff, because I don't teach all that stuff. So
I know. I'm already ready to hire you. I'm like, okay, I need her to do this. Because and it's funny, I've had somebody that was in the community with us, I think his name is Jared. He was telling me, he pulled me up on stage and he's like, who wants to maximize their social media? And I was like, yeah, me. Like, who's going to turn down that? And he's like, you need to retarget them. And I was like, that goes way over my head. I don't even know where to start there. Like and I know I've built such a big audience and a big network of just pouring value into people. But now how do I keep doing that? Retargeting it, especially like it's one thing to do in your email sequences, but it's a whole other thing on social media. And I think there's a piece that people it's hard for you to do it all.
And the other thing, when you're talking about retargeting, it just made me think of this little nugget too. You want to build audiences of people who've seen each video. So let's say you go live and you've got this video, we're going to call it like video A. You want to create an audience of people who've watched, in this, you could vary like the exact limit, but maybe 10 seconds of that video or 25% of that video. Both of those are options from Facebook. So let's just say 10 seconds. Once they've watched 10 seconds, exclude them from that audience. So once they've seen 10 seconds, they're not going to see your ad over and over again. It's going to allow your budget to more completely penetrate that audience and get you more people as opposed to the same person seeing the ad 3 times. And it allows you then to control who sees the next ad. So then you could serve the people who saw 10 seconds the next ad in your sequence. Like you can really sequence things, and there's so many ways to control who sees what and when. And that's what I love about Facebook. I love figuring out the logic. Like, how can we take your message, break it into 4 or 5 mini messages, again, to keep those touches on those people, and then figure out how to serve them in a way that makes sense and that's going to get your ideal person from A to B, whether that's a lead or a sale or whatever that journey looks like.
And I think for most people, they think, okay, email sequence makes sense, but they're not utilizing a social media ad sequence, right?
Or funnels. That's another way to look at it, is a funnel. You know, you need that video view funnel, or the video view ad is at the top of the funnel, the conversion ad is at the bottom of the funnel, and then you need things to squeeze them along. So it's a funnel, a sequence, whatever makes sense in your mind, you need that.
Yeah, because I thought I was pretty advanced at knowing what I know on Facebook. And when someone told me I need to retarget and said multiple ads different ways to these people, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so beginner. But that's good. I mean, this isn't what I do. So I don't have to master this. That's why you hire out for it. You find people that do those things.
And that's it. You stay in your zone of genius. You do what you do well, and you outsource the other stuff, and you're able to be more productive that way.
Yeah, because for me, I could do videos all day long. You know, like I could literally of course, the thing that does suck, I have to say, for all us women out here, is that yes, you do have to do your makeup, and yes, you do have to do your hair, because us women, we do judge each other. We look at each other and go, ooh, her hair's all sticking out over here. I don't know if I can listen to her this whole time. We do this, right? We just do naturally. Or, you know, even Shalene Johnson says, oh, she's got bags under her eyes. I don't think she's well rested. I shouldn't listen to her. But we do this. And but so if you just take a few minutes to do your hair and makeup enough to go live and feel comfortable, that's it. You don't have to be the perfect, robot. There doesn't have to be perfection. People love that you're open, honest, vulnerable, and just you. That's the one thing I say most of all of things. Who you see here today, who you see me with my kids, you'll see me on stage. I am always just me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not more hyped up in one stage or another. I'm not, I am just across the board the same person. And if you can bring that into your business and to these platforms where people can see you, they're going to like you a lot more than the person that's like, hi, you need to buy my stuff. It's amazing.
Right. You're relatable. Like you can't relate to those perfectionists, like those perfectionist videos. You just look at it and you think, oh boy, that's not a real person. Like that's clearly not what they're like all the time. And if it is, we wouldn't be friends. Right.
They're not my people.
Right. So be raw, be real, mess up. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I just recorded a podcast and someone else popped on in the middle of the podcast and it's on video
Who would
and
have
I
done
just
that?
left it. I just don't care because it's real. It's what happens when you're busy and you're scheduling things out. It happens. So don't get all freaked out. I didn't say anything about it. I just reached up quietly as it was talking, hit remove and kept going. Like don't make it a big deal. Like just that's the beauty of, humans, we're imperfect. So don't show up so perfect because trust me, even the millennials especially will just turn you off because they want you, they want real, they want to know you're authentic and vulnerable and ready to just be you.
And I've done the same thing. Like I've been live and things don't go right. Like especially if you're live, like on location somewhere. I was at F8, which is Facebook's big developer conference, and I was going live to tell my people what I had learned. Like, oh my gosh, this is what I learned today. And for some reason, this like group of tourists like came and like started taking pictures of something like right behind me, but they were like, I was live and they're all taking pictures of me. I felt like I was being
Paparazzi?
paparazzi. And I could tell. I was like, I'm sorry, guys, something weird is happening. I gotta go. Like, I don't know. And I moved to like another section and they followed me. It was like the eeriest thing. But I had so many people reach out to me afterwards and they were like, I loved learning about all the updates, but my favorite was when you were attacked by paparazzi.
All of a sudden famous at Facebook.
I felt so awkward, but people loved it. People
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious.
Right. They do. They love that stuff. I mean, because we want to know, it's the times where you're doing Facebook Live and you take your phone and it's actually rubber band to a tripod, a regular camera tripod. You're doing whatever it takes to get these videos out to keep doing the message. And maybe you don't have the perfect ring light and you don't have all these perfect settings and you don't have all this stuff, but that makes it more real and it makes people say, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. Because
Right.
if it's in a professional studio and it's all this stuff, a lot of people look at it and go, I could never do that. She's got so much more money than I do and she can afford all this stuff. And it just makes it harder.
No, I totally agree. So go live. That's my big thing. Go live.
Love that. That's definitely something I teach all the time because it's so important. So when people are sharing, if they are doing Facebook Lives, because if you are a public speaker, you should be doing Facebook Lives all the time because it's your zone of genius. It should be where you're being seen. And so what would you say for people about live? What kind of content do you think really is the most powerful to deliver to people in your audience?
Jeez, that's a good question. And I'm trying to think of a way to answer it that's like globally relevant, because everybody's audience is going to be a little different. I think knowing what your audience expects out of you, having like when at all possible, having those conversations with your audience so you know what their pain points are and then trying to tackle the pain points. I think one of my favorite tips for actual content is, and I think most people probably know this by now, but don't start a live and just wait for people to come.
Oh, please. Can people stop doing that?
Like, I still see some people, typically now they're not business people, I feel like, but they'll be like, hey, just going to wait for some people to come. And then it's a couple minutes. And you have to remember, like, this is just the way it is. More people will watch the replay.
Yep.
Don't get caught up. Don't get hung up on what time should I go live where the most people are online. It doesn't matter. If it's convenient for you to go live at 2 a.m. and nobody's awake, that is fine. People will watch the replay. But don't start it and be like, just waiting. I'm going to twirl my hair for a little bit. Like, no, jump into it. And my favorite piece of advice is that the first thing you should say is actually thanking people for joining you on the replay because nobody's going to watch the first 30 seconds live. So it's, hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to join me on the replay. And then jump into the hook. Why should they keep watching? What are you going to deliver? What's going to happen at the end of the video that they need to stick around for? Then introduce yourself. Why should they care about you? Why are you the one to tell them that thing? And then dive into your content. I think a lot of people try to tiptoe around what they're going to deliver, and then people don't know why they should keep watching. So
Right.
it's that in the beginning. I know that's not, I don't know if that quite answers your question, but structuring the content in that way and then delivering on what those pain points are for your client and knowing the funnel, the journey, the sequence that you want them to take. So if you want them to opt in, for a course on a certain topic, make the content of your live like information that they need before they're ready for that content so that it's sequential, it makes sense, and it's directly related to that content. So I don't want to go live about something new on YouTube and then tell them to opt into my Facebook course.
Right.
Like it doesn't make sense even if I teach all that social media stuff. So make sure it's connected, make sure it flows.
Yeah, like you're talking about the funnel, and I always think about like the customer's journey. Like some people come to me because they're afraid of speaking, right? And that person is going to be different than someone who's already been speaking and is wanting to take it to the next level, right? And so the content that those two people will digest is definitely different. So thinking about where your audience is and where you want to take them and delivering content on that stream so that people know when they should jump in as well. And I love that you say, do not just sit there, because think about this. When we're watching videos, if someone does that, they're devaluating that you're watching. If you're on that live, you're the only one on that live for that person, and you say, oh, let me wait for people to come on. What? Am I not important? You're telling your viewers they're not important enough. They're not enough. Do you really want to tell your customers they're not enough? Now that's stupid. And I will say that out loud. That is stupid. So don't wait, just go and deliver and give them what they're looking for, and hopefully create a title that's thumb stopping, because you got to remember there's this thumb stop, like scrolling through their phone. So what's going to make them stop and watch you?
And I think you brought up another good point that I want to touch on, having two different audiences. It's totally fine at the beginning of your video to say, I'm talking to this person today. If this isn't you, I'm going to have something for you next week. Let people know if you've got two distinct audiences, let people know what people aren't going to resonate with your content so that you're not wasting their time, and they'll respect you for that. Or they'll say, well, I still want to know, so I'm going to watch. And that's totally their prerogative. But call it out. Like, this is for the people who are established and looking to scale. If you're brand new, you may want to hold off. This might be a little overwhelming, but tune in next week and we're going to have some content that you'll resonate with.
Yeah. Or go back to the other video I just did yesterday or whatever.
Sure.
That really, I love that, because if say your audience is just women, if you're a man, if you're a dude, this isn't for you. So if you want, you can stick around if you want to know the secrets behind women, but this one's really for just the girls, right? Or whatever that is, right? So that they know. And I think that you're right. They do respect you more. And if the first time you don't do that and they get like, oh man, this person doesn't do me anything. She's speaking about women and I'm a man. So why would I ever listen to this again? And if you do that, you're losing them forever watching again. So really, if you are clear on that, that's really going to help your audience choose in to what they want. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So one of my things that I tell is the most important thing is storytelling. So what do you feel about how to tell your story, and what kind of stories should people be telling on Facebook?
Oh, I love that too. I'm huge fan of storytelling. Storytelling in videos, storytelling in the posts that you're making, the images that you're uploading. There's a quote. I don't want to pretend like I'm ripping it off, but I don't know who said it, that people don't do business with other businesses, they do business with people. And so even if you're a brand that most of your people are speakers. So embrace the fact that you're a personal brand, and let your personality shine through in that. And think about the story that you're trying to tell in every single post that you make. And that's on your business page or on your personal profile, because for so many of us, while we know that personal profiles are not for business, and we still have our business page, that's super duper important. So I hope everybody has that. But if there's crossover, and it is totally okay for there to be crossover, but what you don't want is your personal profile to look like a place full of ads. It should look like the place where people can learn about you and your story and what you want that story to be.
Yeah. And your story is, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm camping. And guess what? Hey, you should learn something about what I just went through today. Or, those things are so important to mix all of that in there because they want to know you, not just your business, like you said. And that is so important. And I just love that. So thank you for that.
And it's funny, I feel like when I first started out, when I left Facebook, I went to a lot of my coworkers and people I knew who were entrepreneurs to figure out how I should go about establishing myself, not only as an entrepreneur, but as an expert in my space. I immediately knew I wanted something more personally branded than just than a brand. I wanted a personal brand. And a lot of the advice I got, I've since realized was very masculine advice, that business should be about business, totally separate from family. I was encouraged not to use pink because that would turn off a variety, like over 50% of the population, and all of these things. And that's what I did at first. And I'll tell you that when I changed it, it made a world of difference. Like, I'm sure there were some people who were turned off by the fact that I now have pictures of my kids all over, and one of my kids wearing a shark head and Spider-Man masks and slinkies, and that is my business site, and it's crazy, and it's full of kids. And I changed my little logo, my little tagline, to be marketing mama, raising kidpreneurs. It's not like super professional and polished, but what it's doing is it's getting me the right people. So I'm not getting pitched by businesses who don't understand my values. I'm only getting clients who get it.
Yeah.
And it's making me enjoy what I'm doing more. Everything has been amazing since then. So I guess my point is just, I think a lot of people give well-meaning advice that you should be doing what other people are doing, and that's not necessarily the way it should be done. So allow your personality, allow your story, allow those things to be front and center, even if there are people who are telling you it's not professional or not whatever they're telling you. Be confident in yourself and know that it's going to help you attract the right people. Not everybody is going to love you, and they shouldn't.
Yeah. You're going to get judged, criticized, and ridiculed no matter what, always. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be okay with that because you know that you're hitting the right people. And, it was funny. I heard Gary Vee do this. He was on stage in Canada, and he said, one dude stood up and he goes, man, the beginning when I started watching you like 6 years ago, I couldn't stand you. I hated you. I turned you off and swore I would never listen to you again. And he's like, dude, wait. And he's going to go into a question. He's like, wait, hold on. This is going to be a big risk for me right now. However, I want to know, what was it that you didn't like? And I was like, ooh, this is going to get good. Because the thing is, he came back. And so what was it that made him come back? And then now he's a huge advocate. He paid $200 to get to this room to see him speak. So what was it? And I love that he took that moment of like, okay, so yes, I know I'm going to turn some people off. Some people that don't like cussing, I'm going to turn them off. It's who he is. And that's fine. You can take it or leave it. And he doesn't really care. But then, it's like people like that turn it. It's like, ooh, what is that about? And I was really impressed with finding out what it was that the dude didn't like. And he says, well, I thought you were like a snake oil salesman or something like that, if I remember right. And he's like, all right, ouch, but okay. And he's like, but what was it that made you come back? He said, somebody sent me a video and I saw how you were donating and doing these big things. I realized that it wasn't just a hustle and it wasn't just what you were putting out there. There was this whole other side to you that really sung to me, that you're doing it because then now you can spend more time over here and funding nonprofits and things like that. And so it's interesting. You're going to turn some people off. That's okay. They're not your tribe. And it's okay. It's okay to have haters.
Yeah.
I have them. I mean, people don't like me. Can you believe that? It's hard. I know. But those aren't the people I want to work with anyway, because if you have to convince somebody to work with you, then you're going to have to convince them every single day to work with you, to do the work, to do what you need. I don't want to play in that game. And if I'm not super detailed, I am not super organized, I am not super, making sure everything. Sometimes I send emails off and I have a misspelling. Oops, I'm busy. And sometimes I'm sick of hearing myself talk and speak and list and read my own stuff that I'm like, just send it. And it's okay. And the people that are stuck on all those details and focused on that and like, oh my God, she misspelled this. She's not my person. Great. Self-select out.
Right.
I
And
love
that's
that.
the other thing. I feel like when you accept to work with somebody who's not your ideal client, you have to remember that they're taking the space that you have available for an ideal client. None of us have infinite capacity to work with people. Like, whatever your number is, whether you have room for 7 clients or 12 clients, whatever that number is, as soon as you take in somebody who's not aligned with you, you're doing everybody a disservice.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be happy working with them. You're not going to do your best work. And then when the perfect client comes around, you're full.
Right.
So
yeah.
Learn to
all
say
these clients
no.
that you're miserable with.
Right.
No, thanks. I'll pass.
And that was a lesson I had to learn in the beginning. I didn't get it. I was new. I was just starting out. So it was like, you have money, you're my client. Like, that's not hard. But now I've had multiple people that have come through that we have a call and it's like, I'm not the right person, but I'll send you to somebody who is. And establishing that network. That's one of the reasons I love Facebook too, is I've met so many people in my same vertical, like so many advertisers, so many Facebook advertisers. And I always want to know, who are you serving? Who is your ideal client? What makes you different from other people? Because then you can work together and they'll work together with you. I mean, there's a lot, not everybody does that, but it's good to be able to grow that network. And I think that kind of going back to a question you asked previously, that's kind of the best way to reach out to those event promoters, because they're a hard group to target, especially if you're looking for things locally. Like if you're not yet at the point where you can travel worldwide or nationwide to go to speaking gigs. So like you may be just looking within your county or your state for speaking opportunities. And when it comes to organizers, I mean, how many are there really? Because if there's but are there?
So if you think about this,
I'm thinking from Facebook targeting perspective.
Okay, well, that one I won't know. But I'm thinking about, if you think about local groups, you think about all the meetup people that are putting on meetups with 20 to 100 people, all the specific events, women in tech, women in cloud, I work a lot in tech with high tech C-level executives and speaking. And then, then there's like the people like eWomen Network and Women Business Owner and Women Business Exchange. And I mean, there's Business Among Moms. There's so many if you think about it like that. However, if you really want to get a speaking gig from somebody that way, first engage them on social media, say you're interested in their event, attend their event, and talk to them personally. If it's local, that's the easiest way to do that. And I say this all the time, and people are like, I don't know how to get speaking gigs. Talking to people.
Yes, networking.
And then asking them, who else do you know that, say I went and spoke at eWomen Network. I was the managing director here in Seattle. If I was to speak there, I could ask the managing director, well, who else do you know? Now that you've heard my message, who else are you connected with? Because those people are highly connected. Who else do you know would love to hear me speak on this topic? Get a referral.
Yeah. And have those live videos so that when they go to your page,
they can see you.
They can see what you speak about. And as much as live is what I prefer, if live isn't an option, that's fine. But ask if you can record the presentation you're giving when you go to eWomen Network or NABO or wherever you're going. Yeah. Ask if you can. I mean, if you can go live, great. If they'll let you do that, if you have somebody who can man the camera. I don't know. I don't trust technology. I'd be too nervous.
I use this thing. This sits on the table. Like, come on. This is like my little tripod. And I say, somebody sitting here, can you just hit record when I am up there?
And that's record it. Yeah. Leverage those things so that people have somewhere they can go where they can see that you're not just, I mean, I am just starting out with public speaking, but they can see that you're not going to be your first go.
Right.
I think most of the time people just want to know you're not going to get up there and be like, but. Like they want to know that you can or
deliver to
take
their
the lead
audience.
in
Because
front of a group of people.
in an event, as an event organizer myself, I have experience where someone got up there and bombed, and everyone turned to me and was staring at me like, why did you let this girl on stage? And I
Oh
was like,
no.
I saw her speak 2 weeks ago at another event. She was amazing. I don't know. And I was, I got so much very bad surveys back about how she was miserable, like all this stuff. And I'm like, that's what we, as organizers, you don't want to happen. And so, yeah, I think also it's like, we just want to know that with video, if you look at someone's Facebook profile, you'll know how they're going to interact with your audience if you can see consistently how they're showing up. And those videos will help them. You don't have to have a professional speaker in reel if you have enough videos that people feel like, oh yeah, she would land with my audience.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Take advantage of every opportunity.
Okay, so if you could go back and speak to yourself 5 years ago, what advice would you give yourself?
Gosh, it's funny. I just answered this on my Facebook page. This is an easy
Awesome.
one. And now let me see if I can say it as eloquently as I wrote it. I would tell myself not to fear failure. I think I grew up as the straight A student. Like I just was always expected to do really well. I always did really well. So I think that almost hurt me in the long run once I got into the real world and started having failures, that I was a lot more cautious when it came to taking risks because I didn't want to fall on my face. And now I've totally embraced that process of falling on my face because I understand that those failures are totally necessary. They're stepping stones towards on this journey to a success that I can't even imagine right now. Like I have no clue where I'm going to be in 5 years, but based on where I am today compared to where I was 18 months ago when I left the corporate world, I mean, I never would have imagined being here. So it's so exciting to think about, like, where can I fail next? Like, what can I do that might be a terrible decision? I mean, and I'm talking obviously not not a terrible decision, but just take those risks, leap with both feet. And when you fall forward. Just keep going in a forward direction. And I wish that I 5 years ago wasn't so cautious because I can't even imagine where I'd be today.
Right. Slower. It's slow. And like that's the painful part sometimes. It's, the risk of failing is not that big because if you don't consider it failure, if you just consider it a result, you did something, you got a result. And then decide if the result is what you wanted. So for you, it's like testing ads, right? If you get a result that doesn't suit you, you go, ooh, so I got to change the mechanism so that I get a different result. Mm-hmm. And if you could just look at life that way, and every decision you make, it's just a result. I'm just getting a different result. Change it so you get the results you really want. So it's never failing because you learn from it.
True. Sometimes I think I just like using those like shocker words like failure because it's also, I feel like a lot of people, those are the words that they're thinking in.
Totally. Because we feel like a failure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so if you're thinking about your future self, 5, 10 years from now, I always say I borrow sometimes my confidence from my future self. I call her ELJ. She runs a $40 million speaking agency. She's got all these things nailed out. She's speaking on all the big stages. She's partnered with some of the top people in the world. When I am facing that next step to take and I am nervous about it, I borrow that confidence from my future self. So what would your future self come here and tell you today as advice?
Oh, I love that. Oh, gosh. And now you're tripping me up. Ooh, I think my future self would tell me to invest more in myself. Especially, I feel like that's one of my trip ups right now, based on where I am in my business, especially. Like I said, I launched 18 months ago. I still am very much in the startup phase. My business has only been really well-oiled, if you will, for about a year. And I'm at the point where I know I should be outsourcing more, investing more in not just in a coach, but in coaches for the specific areas of my life in which I will be growing and developing and excelling. So I think that 5 years down the road, it's going to be learn to let go of a little more of that money, invest in yourself, trust the processes, because I do believe that once I get to that point in my mindset and how I'm managing things, that it's just going to allow everything to go more smoothly.
Awesome. And my last and final question, based on that, what's an action step you can take this week that will move you towards that faster?
Ooh.
Always a coach. I'm just saying.
No, you're good. You're good. So, sorry, I gotta think for a minute. I think it's more concretely identifying where those areas are that I need the most support. So brainstorming out a little bit, where am I going to be? Like, I love how you've identified your person. Yeah, like I love that. So I almost think that what I need to do is come up with something like that where I know, like, I'm going to be speaking on more stages. I'm going to be networked. I'm going to have my book will have been published, like all of these things. And once I can articulate my future in that way, that's going to be step one towards determining, now that I've got these three major goals in mind, whether, the stage, my marketing agency growing and expanding, my book, how, building in the foundations and some realistic time frames for those. So I think that's another area where not just but a lot of people struggle, is what's a reasonable time frame, because you don't want to say, I'll get it all done by next Tuesday, because that's not a lot of time to realistically make all those moves. But you also don't want to be like, August 2020, because that's way too much time. So it's finding that sweet spot.
I love it. Well, how can we find out more information about you? How can my audience check you out? Tell us how they can find you.
Sure. So my website is personally branded. So it's megbrunson.com. There's links on there to get more information about all the services I offer, and to all my social media accounts. But I'm just about everywhere at The Meg Brunson. So Facebook, Instagram, at The Meg Brunson.
I love it. Well, those things will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. It's been invaluable. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you.
And tune in next time to the next episode, and we will see you on stage.